The package sat on the kitchen table, an innocent brown box sealed with packing tape, branded with the name of a pet store. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned it over, my hands trembling. We didn't have a pet. My mother had always hated animals. So why would she order something from a pet store? Curiosity gnawed at me, and I tore the tape open. Inside, nestled between layers of bubble wrap, were several containers of pills. My eyes scanned the label, meant for large dogs. Confused, I picked up one of the bottles and turned it around to read the instructions. They were sedatives, meant to calm aggressive dogs or keep them immobile for extended periods. A sickening realization settled in my gut as my eyes widened in horror. Just as I processed the thought, I heard the familiar creak of the front door. My mother was home. Panic set in. I stuffed the bottles back inside, sealed the package as best as I could, and limped as quickly as I could back to my room. My heart thundered against my ribs as I threw myself onto the bed and pulled the blanket over my legs. The door swung open seconds later, and she stood there, her sharp eyes scanning the room. "Did you touch the package?" she asked, her voice laced with suspicion. "No," I lied, keeping my expression blank. She lingered for a moment before finally closing the door behind her. That night, while she slept, I searched the internet for answers. My blood ran cold as I read about the effects of the sedatives. If given to humans, they would induce temporary paralysis in the legs. A wave of nausea churned in my stomach. She had been drugging me for years, keeping me weak, keeping me helpless. I couldn't let it continue. The next morning, when she brought me my daily meal, I forced myself to keep a neutral face. But this time, instead of eating, I discreetly tipped the food into a napkin and flushed it down the toilet. My heart pounded as I did it. I repeated this for 3 days, each time feeling the strength return to my legs. By the 4th day, I could stand for longer without wobbling. By the 5th, I could walk the length of my room without my crutches. That night, she must have suspected something. I woke up to find her standing in my doorway, silhouetted by the dim hallway light. In her hand, gleaming wickedly in the darkness, was a knife. "You think you're clever, don't you?" she sneered, stepping closer. "You think I didn't notice? You've been skipping your meals. I worked too hard to let you ruin things now." My stomach twisted with fear, but I forced myself to move. I pushed off the bed, my legs still weak but functional. The sight of me standing enraged her. She lunged forward, the knife flashing through the air. I barely dodged, feeling the blade graze my skin. She slashed again. This time, the knife buried itself deep into my thigh. Pain exploded through my leg, but I had no time to react. I shoved her back, toppling her against the nightstand. I limped out of my room as fast as I could, my blood staining the floorboards with each step. She was right behind me. I reached the basement door, threw it open, and stumbled down the steps. She followed, her footsteps heavy and furious. I spotted the small window near the ceiling, my only escape. Summoning every ounce of strength, I pulled myself up, but she grabbed my ankle, yanking me back down. I kicked wildly, my foot connecting with her face. She howled in pain, releasing her grip just long enough for me to crawl through the narrow window. I collapsed onto the cold dirt outside, my body trembling. I heard her shrieking from inside the basement, but I didn't stop. I limped down the road, my vision blurring, blood soaking my pants. I barely made it to a neighbor's porch before everything went black. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed, the crisp white sheets starkly different from the suffocating darkness of my home. A police officer stood by the door. "She's been arrested," he said. "You're safe now." A sob broke from my throat, years of pain and terror pouring out of me all at once. For the first time in a decade, I was free. A new life awaited me, one without my mother, without paralysis, without fear. And I swore as I lay in that hospital bed that I would never let anyone cage me again.